With most human land uses, we have changed the speed at which water comes off the catchment. It causes flooding downstream. The increased velocity of water drags more and more nutrients and sediments off the surface, and the water isn't sitting on the surface for anywhere near as long to infiltrate into the soil.
Well, I guess back in probably the late 1970s, there was a huge effort across the tableland put in contour banks across farms to stop the obvious farm erosion on slopes that were being cultivated. And my farm was contoured in the early 80s. And one of the things that I noted, while we'd addressed issues of on the farm erosion, there was a huge problem occurring within the creeks. Lots of areas where we're getting feedback from farmers about the erosion in gullies and gullies eating back into the countryside. Barron Catchment Care looked at this issue. It's quite prevalent around the tableland. We had an expert look at this situation for us, and we came up with the concept of detention basins.
I'm Joe Rhodes, I'm an environmental scientist. I've been doing jobs on and off for the Barron Catchment Group for almost 10 years now. There are two main issues here. One is slowing up the water that goes into the drainage lines, and the other issue is fixing the damaged drainage lines. When you change the way you use a landscape, you change the water behaviour on that landscape. The main thing we look at with hydrology is just draw what they call a classic catchment, where the water comes in from various points on the catchment and ends up at a discharge point at the bottom. So when a rainfall event hits this catchment, once the water from the furthest away point is adding to the flows from the closer points, that is when the actual runoff reaches its peak. If we have a catchment that's heavily vegetated, we have very heavy sort of top cover. We often have very heavy layers of mulch. We have a very convoluted ground surface. What we do is we work out a hydrograph, which is the amount of flow that reaches this point. By the time this rainfall event hits all this heavy forest, dribbles down through the trees, through all the ground cover, it takes quite a long time